This was supposed to be the most romantic night of their marriage. 10 years together, celebrating at the restaurant where they first met. But instead of proposing a renewal of vows, Daniel dropped a bombshell. I never divorced my first wife, Rachel. You and I, we were never legally married. For a decade, Rachel had been living in sin without knowing it, while Daniel maintained two families in two different cities. Rachel's hand trembled as she set down her wine glass. She was trying to process the meaning of his words. What are you saying, Daniel? What kind of joke is this? Daniel avoided eye contact. It's not a joke, Rachel. I married Jennifer in 2009. When I met you in 2012, I never completed the divorce proceedings. Rachel's breath caught. So our marriage, legally invalid. I'm sorry, Rachel. I've kept this from you for so long. The restaurant suddenly seemed too loud. The conversations of other couples, the music, the clinking of wine glasses, everything echoed in Rachel's head. 10 years, Daniel. 10 years. I thought I was your wife. You are my wife, Rachel, just not on paper. No, Rachel raised her voice, then looked around and lowered it. I'm your mistress. I've been your mistress for 10 years, and I had no idea. Daniel reached for Rachel's hand across the table, but she pulled it away. When did you last see Jennifer? Daniel quietly answered, last week. These words shook Rachel deeply. Last week, you told me you had a business meeting in Houston. Jennifer lives in Houston, and we have two children. Rachel's world completely collapsed. Not only were they not legally married, but Daniel had two children with another woman. Two children? How old? Emma is 12, Lucas is 9. Rachel did the math. Emma was born just after the year they met. You had a child with her while you were with me? Rachel, at that time our situation was unclear. Unclear? You had proposed to me. You talked about your love. Rachel stood up and grabbed her purse. I'm going home. Rachel, wait. Let's talk. Which home, Daniel? The one we call ours? Because that's not my home anymore either. I've been living there as your mistress. When she got home, Rachel noticed that nothing looked the same anymore. The photos on the walls, the mail addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Williams, the double bed in their bedroom, everything felt like a lie. Daniel wasn't home the next morning. Rachel had texted him, maybe you should go to your real family in Houston. In the afternoon, Daniel returned. He had flowers in his hand and a sorry expression. Rachel, can we talk? What's left to talk about, Daniel? You've been lying to me for 10 years. I love you, Rachel. I love both of you. You can't love both of us. It doesn't work that way. Daniel sat down. I married Jennifer young. Our families forced us. We weren't happy. Then I met you and understood what real love was. But you didn't leave her. For the children. And financial situations were complicated. Rachel laughed bitterly. Financial situations? While I thought I was your wife here, were you paying alimony to two homes? Rachel, answer me. You were living a life I didn't know about. How many days do you stay in Houston? 1 week a month. 1 week, and I thought you were on business trips. Rachel buried her head in her hands. How could I be so stupid? You're not stupid. I did wrong. That night, Rachel slept in the guest room. The next day, she gave Daniel an ultimatum. Either you divorce Jennifer and legally marry me, or this relationship ends. Daniel said nothing. You have time to think, Daniel, but I won't accept being a man's mistress anymore. A week later, Daniel gave his answer. I can't divorce Rachel. The children are an excuse, Daniel. You made your choice. Rachel moved out that same day. She moved in with her best friend, Lisa. How did you not know for 10 years? Lisa asked. Because I trusted him. We had a marriage certificate. We filed joint tax returns. Everything seemed real. So was your marriage certificate fake? Rachel examined the document. It looked real. Maybe he didn't know he was married then either. But when she investigated, she learned the truth. Daniel's marriage to Jennifer had never ended. Rachel's marriage certificate was legally invalid. She went to a lawyer. Unfortunately, you have no legal rights, the lawyer said. You're victim of bigamy. You can only sue Daniel. What kind of lawsuit? Fraud, emotional damage. But this is a long and exhausting process. When Rachel got home, she found a note from Daniel. Rachel, I know I disappointed you, but I really love you. If you wait, maybe we can find a solution. Rachel tore up the note. A month later, Rachel received an unexpected call from Daniel. I talked to Jennifer. She learned everything. What do you mean everything? You, our relationship. Jennifer wants a divorce. Rachel was surprised. How did she find out? Emma found your photos on my phone. She asked Jennifer, who is this woman? And what did you say? At first, I said work colleague, but Jennifer investigated. She found photos of us on social media. Rachel's heart raced. This was an unexpected development. What happens now? Jennifer is filing for divorce. I want you, Rachel. I really want to marry you. Rachel was silent for a while. Daniel, you lied to me for 10 years. Did you choose Jennifer because I didn't know about my existence? No. Rachel, I choose you. I always chose you. If you chose me, why didn't you get divorced? I was afraid of losing the children, losing my assets, but you weren't afraid of losing me. Daniel couldn't answer this question. Daniel, I can't trust you anymore. You cheated on Jennifer and me. Won't you cheat on someone else tomorrow? Rachel, no, you're different. I'm sure you said the same things to Jennifer. Rachel hung up. 2 weeks later, an unexpected visitor came, Jennifer. When Rachel opened the door, she was faced with a middle-aged, beautiful woman. You're Rachel, aren't you? I'm Jennifer, Daniel's ex-wife. Hello, come in. When Jennifer sat down, she began talking. Daniel should have told you about me. He's been lying to both of us for 10 years. How long have you known? For a month. But looking back, there were signs, frequent business trips, late-night phone calls. I never suspected anything. Are you divorcing him? Yes, and I have a favor to ask of you. Rachel was surprised. What is it? Don't go back to him. You may be a good woman, but Daniel is not trustworthy. If he cheated on you for 10 years, he'll cheat on you too. This made Rachel think. Jennifer was right. How did the children take it? Emma was very upset. Lucas is younger, doesn't fully understand, but both see their father with disappointment. I'm sorry, I wouldn't want. You didn't know. It's not your fault. It's Daniel's. As Jennifer left, she gave Rachel one last piece of advice. Take care of yourself, and don't date married men again. Rachel laughed bitterly. I wouldn't have dated him if I knew he was married. 3 months later, Daniel's divorce was finalized. He called Rachel to tell her, I'm free now, Rachel. Let's get married. Daniel, no. Why? There are no obstacles now. There is an obstacle. Trust. You cheated on me for 10 years. You cheated on Jennifer too. This is your character. People change, Rachel. Maybe, but I can't take the risk. Daniel insisted, what about the 10 years we spent? Didn't they mean anything? They did, but they were built on lies. I want a real relationship. That was her last conversation with Daniel. 6 months later, Rachel started therapy. The therapist taught her to trust herself and build healthy relationships. Trust can be rebuilt, the therapist said, but with the right person. A year later, Rachel met someone named Mark who worked at a bookstore. Mark was divorced and was an open person. On their first date, Mark told Rachel about his past. I was married for 5 years. My wife cheated on me. That's why honesty is very important to me. Rachel also told her own story. Mark was shocked. You really didn't know for 10 years? I didn't know. He was very good at lying. I'm sorry, that must have been a terrible experience. Mark's empathy comforted Rachel. 6 months later, Mark proposed to Rachel. But first, they had an important conversation. Rachel, I want to marry you, but I want you to know I'm an open book. You can check my phone, know where I am, meet my friends. Mark, I want to trust you too, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid too. But if we're honest with each other, we can succeed. Rachel started crying. I'm so afraid of being deceived again. Mark hugged her. I won't deceive you, Rachel. I promise. 2 years later, Rachel and Mark got married. This time it was a real wedding ceremony. Jennifer was even invited. She had become Rachel's friend. You'll be happy, Jennifer said at the wedding. Mark is a good man. How do you know? Because he really sees you. Daniel only saw himself. Rachel's new marriage was completely different. Mark shared everything, had no secrets. A year later, Rachel became pregnant. When she learned she would have a baby, she hugged Mark. This time it's real, Mark said. A real family. Yes, Rachel said. A real family. She no longer heard from Daniel. Only from what she learned from Jennifer, Daniel had found someone else and was living with her. Is he doing the same things? Rachel had asked. I don't know, Jennifer had said, but it's not my problem anymore. When Rachel's son was born, she realized how much her life had changed. Mark was a real father and she was a real mother. Don't be sad about things that are in the past, Mark said one evening. Now we have a real family. Rachel looked at her baby and thought, this child hadn't been born into a world built on lies. He had come into a world built on real love and trust. The 10 years she spent with Daniel hadn't been wasted. It taught her what was real and what wasn't. And now Rachel was living in the truth. 5 years later, Rachel and Mark had 2 children. Jennifer was still a friend, and their children played together. Sometimes bad things lead to good things, Jennifer said one day. What do you mean? If Daniel's cheating hadn't happened, you couldn't have found Mark. I couldn't have found my new life either. Rachel thought about it. Jennifer was right. Daniel's betrayal had been painful, but it had ultimately made her stronger. Do you regret it? Jennifer asked. I'm sad that 10 years were wasted, but no, I don't regret it because it brought me to where I am today. I don't regret it either. I have my children. I became a strong woman. The 2 women laughed. A strong friendship had emerged from the destruction Daniel created. On the way home, Rachel thought, sometimes life hits you from where you least expect it. But if you stay standing, it takes you to more beautiful places. Daniel had once destroyed her world, but Mark had rebuilt her world, and this time the foundations were solid. 15 years later, Rachel returned to school to give therapy. She wanted to help women who had been cheated on. Her first patient was a woman who learned that her husband was leading a double life. Will I ever be normal again? The woman asked. Rachel smiled. You'll be better, because now you know what's real. How can I trust again? Slowly, and with the right person. Rachel told her own story. The woman felt hopeful. So it's possible? Yes, very possible. But first, you need to learn to trust yourself. Rachel's life continued like this. The destruction Daniel created had made her a stronger woman, and now she was helping others become strong too. Because sometimes the biggest lies lead to the biggest truths, and truth always triumphs. 20 years later, Rachel was now 55 years old, and her life had completely changed. Her marriage to Mark continued on a strong foundation. Nolide and their 2 children, 18-year-old Sarah and 16-year-old Michael, had grown up. While Sarah was preparing for university, Michael was a senior in high school. Both children loved their father Mark very much and knew Rachel's past. Mom, Sarah had said one day, knowing what Father Daniel did to you, I understand how valuable a real father is. Rachel had hugged her daughter. You're very lucky, sweetheart. Your father is a real man. Her friendship with Jennifer also continued. Jennifer was now 52 years old and working in a new job. Emma was now 32 years old and married. Lucas was also 29 years old and engaged. My children forgave Daniel, Jennifer had said one day, but they never fully trust him. What about you? Did you forgive him? Yes, because carrying hate was making me sick, but that doesn't mean I approve of what he did. Rachel's therapy clinic was now very successful. She had helped hundreds of women. She had specialized in helping bigamy victims. Dr. Rachel, a patient said, how could you become so strong? Because I learned to suffer, but more importantly, I learned how to get out of pain. Do you ever see Daniel? No, we don't even live in the same city anymore. But from what I learned from Jennifer, he still exhibits the same behavior patterns. So he didn't change? Some people don't change. That's why choosing the right person is important. One of Rachel's patients, 45-year-old Maria, had learned that her husband was married to 3 different women. How is this possible? Maria had asked. Because technology has advanced, making fake documents has become easier, and some men abuse this situation. How many women are there like me? Unfortunately, many. Bigamy is a growing problem in America. Rachel taught Maria how to pursue her legal rights. Maria sued her husband and received compensation. I don't know what I would have done without you, Maria said. You're a strong woman. You just needed to realize it. Rachel's clinic had now become a center for bigamy victims. She was working with lawyers, providing legal support. One day, she received an unexpected call. The caller was Emma, Daniel's older daughter. Aunt Rachel, can I talk about my father? Of course, sweetheart. What happened? My father is sick, cancer, and he wants to see you. Rachel was surprised. She hadn't seen Daniel for 20 years. Emma, please. He says he's very sorry. He wants to apologize before he dies. Rachel talked to Mark. Mark was supportive. Go. Maybe this will be good for you. Are you sure? Won't you be uncomfortable at all? No, because you're my wife, and facing your past will strengthen you. Rachel went to the hospital. Seeing Daniel was shocking. He was now 58 years old, and the disease had changed him a lot. Rachel, thank you for coming. Emma asked. I know. I want to apologize. Rachel listened silently. I apologize for what I did to you. You were a good woman. You didn't deserve it. Why, Daniel? Why did you lie for 10 years? Because I was a coward. I had 2 lives, and I couldn't give up either. Weren't we real? You were real, but I couldn't face reality. Rachel looked at Daniel. She was no longer angry. She just felt pity. Do you regret it? Very much. The biggest mistake of my life. Are you happy with Mark? Yes, I'm very happy. Good, you deserve that. Daniel died a week later. Rachel went to his funeral. Jennifer was there too. How do you feel? Jennifer asked. There's no anger or pain anymore. Just finished. Maybe that's how it should be. Yes, now it's really closed. When Rachel got home, Mark hugged her. How was it? Hard, but necessary. Now my past is really behind me. Good, because our future is ahead of us. When Sarah started university, she wrote a letter to Rachel. Mom, knowing your story, I understand how valuable real love is. What Father Daniel did to you could have destroyed you, but you stood up and raised us in a real family. I'm grateful to you for that. Rachel read the letter crying. Her daughter's words made her feel that the pain in her past was worth it. Michael also said this in a letter he wrote to his father. Dad, I always knew you were my real father, because a father is not only determined by DNA, but by love. You taught me real fatherhood. Mark cried reading these letters. These children are my greatest achievement. Rachel's clinic was now internationally recognized. She had written a book about bigamy, built on lies, real stories of bigamy victims. The book was a bestseller, and Rachel was appearing on television shows. What advice do you give to bigamy victims? A host asked. First, know that this is not your fault. Then learn your legal rights, and most importantly, focus on healing. Is it possible to trust again? Yes, but with the right person, and slowly. Rachel's life had now completed a full circle. The destruction Daniel created had made her stronger. Jennifer and she were still friends. Emma and Lucas now saw Rachel as a real aunt. I'm still ashamed of what my father did to you, Lucas said one day. It's in the past, Lucas. You focus on your own life. But nothing. You're a different man than your father. Always remember that. When Rachel had a grandchild, Sarah's daughter, she called her Nana Rachel. Nana, you're a very strong woman, said 5-year-old granddaughter Lily. Why do you think so? Because Mommy says so. Bad men made you sad, but you still became happy. Rachel hugged Lily. Yes, sweetheart, because when bad things happen, we fight for good things. I'll be strong like you too. I'm sure you will, but I hope you don't experience what I experienced. Rachel was now 60 years old, and her outlook on life had completely changed. Daniel's betrayal was now just a part of the past. When she and Mark celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary, Rachel said, 25 years ago, I didn't know what real love was. Now I do. What is real love? Honesty, trust, and choosing each other again every day. I choose you every day too. And I choose you too. That night, Rachel wrote this in her diary. Today is my 25th wedding anniversary, my real wedding anniversary. The 10 years I spent with Daniel now just seems like a lesson. It taught me what was real. The 25 years I spent with Mark taught me how love should be. I'm 60 years old now, and I know that my life didn't start with Daniel's lies. My real life started with Mark, and it's still going on. Rachel closed the cover and lay down next to Mark. Her husband was sleeping, and Rachel looked at him. This man hadn't lied to her for 25 years. He had no secrets. He would leave his phone open, say where he was going, introduce his friends. The complete opposite of Daniel. Rachel kissed Mark's forehead. Thank you, she whispered. For what? Mark asked in a sleepy voice. For being real. Mark smiled and hugged Rachel. I'll always be real. And Rachel knew this wasn't a promise. This was a fact. Because real people give real promises. And Daniel had never been real. The next year, Rachel wrote her second book on bigamy, Rebuilding Trust, How to Love After Being Deceived. This book also received great attention. Rachel was now giving seminars nationwide. At a seminar, a 35-year-old woman asked, Dr. Rachel, how do I know if my husband is lying to me? Trust your instincts, read body language, and most importantly, don't hesitate to ask questions. What if he gets angry when I ask questions? An innocent person doesn't get uncomfortable with questions, only guilty ones get angry. Rachel told her own story at seminars. Each time the audience was shocked. Did you really not know for 10 years? A woman had asked. I really didn't know, because I trusted him blindly. This wasn't my fault, but it was my lesson. What kind of lesson? Trust is not something to be given, it's something to be earned, and it needs to be constantly renewed. Dr. Amy, who worked at Rachel's clinic, had asked her, "Did you ever forgive Daniel?" Yes, but that doesn't mean I forgot what he did. Forgiving is for my own peace. How could your friendship with Jennifer be so strong? Because we were both victims of the same man. Instead of being enemies, we chose to support each other. Jennifer now worked as a volunteer at Rachel's clinic. She was providing first-hand support to bigamy victims. How can I help you? She had asked a new patient, with understanding, because I experienced the same thing. I learned that my husband had another wife after 15 years. How could you endure it? For my children and for myself, because life goes on. Rachel's son Michael was studying psychology at university. He wanted to follow in his mother's footsteps. Mom, how could you be so strong? He had asked. Because I had no other choice. I was either going to collapse or stand up. I chose to stand up. Did you ever miss Father Daniel? No, because he was never real. For me to miss him, he would have to be real first. What about the good times you had? There were good times, but they were built on lies. Real beauty can only be built on real foundations. Sarah was studying law at university. She wanted to defend the rights of bigamy victims. Mom, I chose this field inspired by your story. I want to protect women's legal rights. I'm proud of you. Sweetheart, you'll be stronger than me, because you taught me how to be strong. Rachel's granddaughter Lily was now 8 years old and was showing a strong personality like her grandmother. Nana Rachel, I want to help women when I grow up too. How will you help? I'll teach them to be strong, like you. Rachel hugged Lily. You're already strong, sweetheart, but I want to be stronger than you. You don't need to be stronger than me. Just trust yourself. Rachel's clinic was now 15 years old and had helped hundreds of women. She was following success stories. Maria, after suing her husband, had built a new life. She had called Rachel to tell her, Dr. Rachel, I got married again, this time to a real man. How could you be sure? Because I applied what you taught. I asked questions, researched, trusted slowly. Are you happy? Very happy, and I'm grateful to you. Another patient of Rachel's, Lisa, had learned that her husband was married to 4 different women. How could I be so stupid, she had asked. You weren't stupid. You were manipulated. These are very different things. What about the other women? They're victims like you. Instead of being enemies, support each other. Lisa had contacted the other women, and they had all sued together. It became an example of women's solidarity. We all supported each other, Lisa had said, because the enemy wasn't among us. It was the man who deceived us. Rachel told this story at her seminars. She emphasized the importance of women's solidarity. Deceived women shouldn't blame each other. The real culprit is the man who deceives. But sometimes the other woman might know too. Yes, but most of the time she doesn't know. And even if she knows, the main responsibility is with the married person. Rachel's third book was Sisterhood After Betrayal: Women Supporting Women. In this book, she also told the story of her own friendship with Jennifer. Jennifer and I were victims of the same man. Instead of being enemies, we became best friends. How could this be possible? Because we both understood Daniel's character. The problem wasn't with us, it was with him. Jennifer had written the preface to the book. Rachel and I met because of Daniel's deception, but this meeting gave birth to the most valuable friendship of our lives, because women who have experienced the same pain can understand each other best. The book was a bestseller, and Jennifer and Rachel started appearing on television shows together. How could you build such a strong friendship? A host had asked. Because we knew who our real enemy was, Jennifer had said. And strong women support each other, Rachel had said. Mark supported Rachel's achievements. He accompanied her to seminars, worked as a volunteer at the clinic. Are you proud of me? Rachel had asked. Very proud, but not just for your achievements, for your character. How so? Because what Daniel did to you could have made you a bad person, but you became a better person. How better? You chose to help others, not to take revenge. Rachel hugged Mark. Because you taught me what real love is. I just was myself. That's why I love you, because you're just you. No lies, no games. On Rachel and Mark's 28th wedding anniversary, Sarah and Michael had made a big surprise. Mom, Dad, we have a special gift for you. The children had made an album from the photos of Rachel and Mark's 28-year marriage. There are no lies in this album, Sarah had said. Only real moments. Your marriage taught us what real love is like, Michael had said. Rachel flipped through the album crying. Every photo was a real memory. No deception, no lies. Thank you, children. This is the most beautiful gift. We thank you, Sarah had said, for giving us a real family. That night, Rachel had asked Mark, did you ever regret it for 28 years? Regret what? Marrying me. My past was very complicated. Your past made you who you are today. I love today's Rachel. Did you ever wonder about Daniel? No, because he's part of the past. I'm part of the future. Rachel kissed Mark. You're perfect. I'm not perfect. I just love you. Same thing. Rachel's clinic had now become a franchise. Branches had opened in various cities of the country. How does this feel? A journalist had asked. Rewarding, because we can help more women. Is the bigamy problem decreasing? Unfortunately, it's increasing because technology is advancing and making fake documents has become easier. How can women protect themselves? By researching, by asking questions, and by trusting their instincts. Rachel's fourth book was The Digital Age of Deception: How Technology Enables Bigamy. In this book, she explained how modern technology contributed to the increase in bigamy crime. Social media makes it easy to create fake identities. Multiple phone lines enable hiding different lives. So what's the solution? Don't be afraid to doubt. Researching about the person you love is not betraying love, it's protecting yourself. Rachel's granddaughter Lily was now 12 years old and was showing a strong personality like her grandmother. Nana Rachel, I'm going to be a lawyer when I grow up. I'm going to defend deceived women. Why do you want to choose this field? Because you taught me to be strong. I want to teach others to be strong too. Rachel hugged Lily. You're already stronger than me, sweetheart. How? Because you can distinguish right from wrong. That's a great power. Jennifer also had a grandchild now. Emma's son Jake was 10 years old. Jake, how did Aunt Rachel and Nana Jennifer become friends? He had asked. Because they're both strong women. Strong women support each other. Jake also called Rachel Grandma. Rachel Grandma, was Grandpa Daniel a bad man? Rachel thought about how to answer this question. Jake, he was a complicated man. He made bad choices, but you won't be like him. How can you be sure? Because you know the truth, and you'll make the right choices. On Rachel's 30th wedding anniversary, a big celebration was held. All family, friends, and clinic staff came. Jennifer was there too. She had made a speech. Rachel, you are the most valuable friend of my life. Daniel's deception introduced us, but our friendship was built on real foundations. Rachel had replied, Jennifer, you taught me the power of women's solidarity. Together, we are stronger. Mark had also made a speech. Rachel, you are the love of my life. For 30 years, I chose you again every day, and I will choose you for the next 30 years. Sarah and Michael had also spoken. Mom, Dad, your marriage taught us what real love is like, built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. Rachel had made the final speech. 35 years ago, Daniel's deception destroyed my life. But this destruction allowed me to rebuild on stronger foundations. The 30 years I spent with Mark taught me what real love is. My friendship with Jennifer showed the power of women's solidarity. My children reminded me that love is limitless, and the women in my clinic taught me that strength increases when shared. That night, Rachel wrote in her diary for the last time, Today is my 30th wedding anniversary, my real wedding anniversary. The 10 years I spent with Daniel is now just a distant memory, but this memory made me who I am today. If I hadn't experienced Daniel's deception, I couldn't have appreciated Mark's value so much. If I hadn't suffered, I couldn't have understood others' pain so much. Everything happens for a reason, and sometimes the biggest lies lead to the biggest truths. Rachel closed the diary and lay down next to Mark. What are you thinking about? Mark asked. Being grateful, because my life may not be perfect, but it's real. And I'm real too. Yes, you're real too. Mark hugged Rachel. I'll always be real. I know, because you've been real for 30 years. And as Rachel closed her eyes, she knew that no lie, no deception could ever have a place in her life again, because truth always defeats lies. And real love always overshadows fake love.